Okay, the thing died. Hopefully I didn't run out of memory. Anyways, yeah, so straighten it out. Yeah, so this works. All these straps are good. I think so. The only thing that this thing probably won't work on is like a rubber strap. That'd be pretty odd. Although, who knows? Maybe if you tried it, it might actually kick you in the ass and say, no, it works. Nah, probably not. But yeah, just about right. You can just about do anything with this watch, I think. The design of the general design, especially what's on the dial, the way the numbers are, and just everything. It's actually more flexible than I think people will give it credit for. This is just my opinion. People might just say, "Nah, that's bullshit. This is a dress watch. Leave it on a leather. Fine, you go do that." But I had planned, and I think I executed it pretty well. And the responses, the many responses I've gotten online, on Facebook, and both Properly Wound and Urban Gentry Watch Club have been great. Most people give props, and there wasn't anything that anyone really hated, for the most part. They just being dicks. Anyways, yeah, so this watch, before I close out, it's great. It's 31 jewel movement. It's been solid. I would say, well, overall, it performs as what I expected as my other Seikos, and I had 2 Steinhardts before. Most modern watches, automatics that I've gotten so far, they all have been really surprisingly good. Everyone's mileage will vary depending on their activities and what they do, but for reference, I do work on the computer, graphic works, so mouse, hotkeys, Photoshop, Illustrator. It's most of my day. I'll get up, eat, snack, whatever, desk stuff. And then I go home, I drive, and, I got kids, or a kid, sorry, and unless you count my dog too. And, do house activities, and then just before the end of the night, I will probably take this off and set it on the table, watch face up, and that also affects how your watch performs. If it's laying flat, sideways, what rest position, the time may decelerate or accelerate more. Every watch is a little bit different. So I usually leave it face up. And so with all that in mind, I usually set the watch in the daytime, in the morning. If this is dead, okay, I'll wind it up, hack the seconds, get the time set. When it's set it to my smartphone clock. Very simple, nothing fancy. It's good enough. You don't need atomic clock. I think it's probably tied into an atomic clock, right? I mean, these phones, the way they work on the network, that's how they keep their accuracy, right? So, but I don't need any fancy apps to go to the fraction of a second to tell me how fast or slow the watch is operating, to help me keep track. I just put on my cell phone clock, and once this matches up, or the clock, and I push this in, I let this go, and it'll keep track, right? And then I'll go into probably setting the date and the day as necessary, and push it in for final. This isn't locked down. It's just wind it like that in the press down all the way position. It's not a water resistant watch, well, not very highly, so that's why it's not necessary for a screw down. But that's how I work it. And then, so my day, I usually monitor the watch. I always do that. It's just a habit. I'm OCD or whatever, but I like to keep track and see how it's doing throughout the day. Even if it's been months, I always still, if I had this for months, I still will always kind of come back and check on it occasionally, just to see where it's at with synchronization. I just like to keep a mental note to see how watches perform, if they're holding up or if they're really going off for some reason. And you really need time to do that. You can't just give it even a couple of days or even a week. Not 2 weeks is better. If you can do a whole month, that would probably be start to be the best gauge, because a lot of things can happen, and if you want to get a good average of how the watch may perform, that's what you should do. So that being said, I'll try to, let's see, I got this watch on a Monday, or was it Tuesday? About 3 weeks ago. Was it maybe just under, but and I used it. It's just before the Labor Day weekend, at the end of October. The end of August, the last week. And so from there, Tuesday all the way down to about Friday, this watch has basically been only off. It was, I check in the morning, and it was basically only off by, I think it was only off by either minus or +1 for the first 3-4 days in a row that I was wearing this. I get up in the morning. I notice that either it slows down actually during the day when I'm wearing it a little bit, usually about 1 second, and then when I put it down the next morning, either it's usually tends to speed back up, and so it's either synchronized with the second or it's actually +1, but it's holding right around there for the first 3-4 days. And then I kept it in my bag. I was wearing this for the Labor Day weekend, and but I kept checking on this. This was just in my bag in a protected pouch, and I just wanted to keep monitoring it. And then I came back, and after that holiday on Monday, started work week again. I decided to really give this a more straight run through the week, Tuesday, at least through Tuesday, which would have been earlier this week that I'm making this video. So anyway, so I started back on Tuesday, synchronized it, and I swear, it may have fluctuated -1 during the day, but then a lot of times it will just reset itself back perfect synchronization in the morning when I pick it up and check on the time. Or maybe just +1 again. But basically it's right around there, and actually I swear, at least from Tuesday to Friday of last week, I checked it, it was holding exactly second per second with the clock on my smartphone that I'm recording this from. And that was amazing, I've never had a watch do that, hold it so consistently. But this is just how I wear my watch during the weekday and the work day. And so the weekend was coming up, and you do different things, so I wanted to see how that was. So as I went into that, I noticed the time did start to go off a little bit, more like -2. But usually it tends to just kind of more or less hold initially after I wear it in the morning, start to wear it in the morning. It'll drop back -1 or -2, and then it basically will hold that for almost a whole day, most of my day, and then only till the end of the night that maybe it might start to slow down a little bit more. Again, it's probably something that I'm doing, and eventually more than a week has gone by. So from Tuesday to Wednesday of this week, it has actually it ended up basically being -8 seconds when I woke up in the morning. Somewhere along the lines, towards the last few days, it started to slow down a little bit more, because I didn't touch or reset the watch ever through that whole week. I just let it run. I didn't even wind it up. I just wanted to gauge how it would hold just normally, right? And so from past Tuesday to Wednesday of this week, so just about 8 days, it was -8 seconds. So you average that overall, even though it wasn't exactly -1 second every day. That's basically what it means, right? Because 8 days and you check and it's -8. That's basically -1 second per day, which is really good for over a week, wouldn't you say? And so I wanted to test. I was going to do another week, but I want to try something else. But the last few days up to today, so now it's Friday of that same week. I've been wearing it, and I did resynchronize the watch. I think on Wednesday, so the Thursday, Friday. So this past 2 days, it's been holding pretty good. I think on average so far every day now it's been -2 seconds per day, at least until I put it down on the table and let it rest overnight, and I pick it up in the morning and I check on it again. I have to say it varies. Sometimes it's still holding at -2, but I feel sometimes, God, I should have wrote it down, but it may have slowed down another second or two. So in the morning, I think maybe this morning. So, okay, I mean, if you gauge from the start of the previous day to the morning of the following day, right, 24 hours, then basically it's -2, maybe -4 seconds, between -2 and -4 seconds per day on this watch. That's what I seem to be averaging now. And I think that's just perfectly within normal specs. I think these watches were basically, because it's quartz, it's going to be accurate. But the Turtle and my Steinhardt, I had 3 of them. I had the Ocean 500 Titanium 500 GMT. It's kind of like their Batman. It's one of the latest releases before their newest 39mm stuff. But anyways, those of you that know these watches, you know what I'm talking about. And I had an Ocean 1 Bronze, and I had a Steinhardt Ocean 1 Vintage Dual Time. This is basically their GMT. It's like modeled after an older classic Rolex, GMT Master. And they all were basically, Seiko's and Steinhardt alike were performed basically the same. Actually those would actually get +1, between +1 and +3 seconds a day. A lot of times it was +1, but occasionally it would be +3, but very, very acceptable. And I think at the end of the night, it's kind of the reverse. I think it actually, when I wake up, it actually loses time. Or does it? Maybe it does still gain it a little bit overnight. And so I think it did gain it instead. So if I was between +1 and +3 per day in the daytime when I'm wearing it, and then when I put it down, I wake up the next morning and pick it up again, I will look at the watch and compare it, and it would probably be another +1 to +3 seconds in the morning. So if you count the full 24 hours, it was about +6 averaging per day for like the Seiko and my 3 Steinhardts. And actually, I had another Seiko, an SRP 637, the baby tuna, and that basically performed the same as this and the other ones. This one, on the other hand, is different. This one is actually losing seconds, which I admit I personally do not like as much, because I'd rather have the time advance a little bit more than drop behind. Mainly because if I want to resync it, all I have to do is pull and hack the seconds, and then wait for my clock to kind of catch up to this one. And when it's about to be there, I just push it and it just continues. I don't have to, since it's behind, I have to hack it to the right at the top, and then I gotta advance the hands about a minute, right? I try to do it within the minute that's coming up. And then if you do that, that's fine, but sometimes because of that, you're fiddling with the hands. It may not be perfectly synced up with the the minute marker. So you might have put it on there, but when you pushed it down, sometimes when it starts going to the next one and so forth, you see that it's just slightly off. And I know I shouldn't care about that, but I do, because again, I'm OCD. So I will get again and try to fiddle with getting the hands what I think will be about the right position. I might slightly offset it. It really depends. And then I'll try to synchronize it again, and I'll just observe. And this one is keeping pretty perfect time. I mean, you can see I messed with this one earlier today because I was kind of resetting the time just to because I didn't notice it was a little bit off. But check this out. Once it hits the 12, that should be basically perfectly aligned. Yep. Love that. And that's why I love these hands too. It's kind of old school, but that's why I kind of like this. And they're just so fine, especially that seconds hands. And they just match the thickness, I think, of the markers there. At least the these smaller ones in here. These big ones for the hours, obviously, are a lot fatter. But yeah, but it's just perfect, and you can see the second hand too. It just perfectly fits. They're all lined up in thickness. And it just looks nice and clean. It's just such a very fine and direct point. And when you see it line up perfectly, it just feels nice. It's such a precise matchup. And yeah, so I guess that's it. This has been probably over an hour. I might have to break this up into separate videos instead of trying to edit and splice it into one. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm going to be busy this weekend. And that's basically it. So I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope I didn't ramble on too much, but I probably did. But I don't do this as a job. I just did it purely as fun because I really like this watch. I had some ideas about it, and I think they all basically worked out. And I really feel this is going to be a keeper. It's just very versatile. It just looks nice, and usually I like a watch with lume, like these dive watches back there, some other ones, but don't mind, because of the style. I don't have to have lume, no big deal. But it would have been a bonus, but I can see why it doesn't. Although this might be kind of cool if instead of the enamel, if they somehow made this an entirely lume dial, that'd be pretty neat too. But I would take the enamel dial. It's a nice finish and look overall. And again, I don't think the lighting in this video do it quite justice. Just some things you just have to see in person with your own eyes right up there to be able to do that. So I think my phone might be dying soon, so I better end this. If that's the case, then I hope you enjoyed it. And if there's any other watches coming up, and I'm sure there are, that are new or just don't have reviews, I'll probably try to do them just to help you guys out, and it'd be kind of fun. All right, I better end this. Laters.